And I want us to end up right here, okay? So you're gonna aim at me.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Triangle Curling Club in beautiful Durham, North Carolina for the inaugural Brewers Charity Spiel. Zach Burley here with you alongside Ty Siegel, and we are both proud members of this incredibly wonderful curling club, and we are witnessing a very fun event today, Ty, a day where we can not only enjoy some great curling, but also raise some money for some great charities. We're both very excited, aren't we?
Absolutely. It's wonderful to be here. You know, it's a volunteer-run organization.
Yeah.
Curling is just a fantastic sport. Great teamwork. Great sportsmanship at play here. So we're happy to do this, to be together.
And we are delighted you joined us. Let's introduce you to who exactly is playing today. So basically what they've done is they've gathered a group of local breweries. There was a great mention by the club president before we started. She said we like to drink local and curl global. And so we have a collection of local breweries here. So we'll start off, what you're looking at on your screen, from left to right is the 4 sheets. If you look at the top number, or the top view of the sheet, you're looking at A on the left, B in the left center, C on the right center, and D all the way on the right. So you can see the team names there. We've got Durham Distillery and Full Steam Brewery. So now each brewery is connected to a charity that they are supporting. So let's introduce you to those, also to let you know what they're playing for as well. So Full Steam Brewery is partnered with the Triangle Land Conservancy. They're raising money for now. Durham Distillery raising money for NC Planned Parenthood of the South Atlantic region. On sheet B, we got Tobacco Wood Brewing. There with Simplify, America's Fun, off against Ancillary Fermentation, representing the Wake SPCA. On sheet C, we have Pony Sorrels Brewing, partnered with Equality NC, and Trophy Brewing, partnered with Note in the Pocket. And finally, on sheet D, all the way on the right-hand side of your screen, Glass Jug Beer Lab, who is partnered with Triangle Empowerment Center, and Linwood Brewing, partnered with Pips Rescue. Now, what we're going to be doing today is 2 4-in games. We'll play 1 4-in game. For those of you who aren't familiar, an end is one throwing of the rocks all the way down, and another end is throwing them all the way back. So they're going to do 4 of those, and then they're going to award points based off of who won the game, who won individual ends, and then the total points scored during the game. And now, the whole point spiel, it's a little bit different than classic curling, and it makes you think a little bit, because you're not just worried about the overall score. If you score all in one end, you could actually end up getting not very many more points than your opponent.
Rotate the other way. That's true. It's not
Get the handle right.
There's going to be another round of games after this. It's a matter of how many points can you get, and that is going to affect some of the calls these ships make. It's not necessarily do I win the end. Maybe do I take an extra risk and try to get a couple more stones in, get a couple more points. It really changes the mentality of the game a little bit.
Let's go ahead and take a little bit of a look at what we've got going on. You can see on the far left-hand side of your screen, Sheet A, Full Steam Brewery and Durham Distillery. We've got Skip Mike Russell for Durham Distillery. He's calling the shot right now. His team is playing red against Chris DiPiero, who is skipping the Full Steam Brewery team, and they are playing in yellow. So you can see a little bit of yellow already starting on the edge of the 12. Here comes that red stone into your screen now.
So what they're trying to do is curl right behind those red guards. Looks like this stone is a little bit heavy. It's going to sail through. Unfortunate for a red there. So yellow does have 2 stones in the house, but they're very far on the outside. You know, if any team can curl a stone into the center, they're immediately going to be shot rock and outcount those yellow stones.
So now, Zakai, take us through how the teams are structured. They've got 2 members and 2 non-members who are probably going to have very little experience. So they stack. You're going to see teams that are going to have maybe a skip at the end that's very experienced, but you're going to have a varying of shots, which will make this very interesting.
Yes. So the idea was to pair members from the breweries or distilleries with more experienced curlers. So on the front end, if you were playing both lead, who throws the first 2 stones, and second, who throws the second 2 stones, those folks are from these breweries. They have varying amount of experience, probably less experience. And then the people playing vice, which is throws stones 5 and 6, and then the skip, who throws the last 2 stones. Those folks are experienced curlers. They're here at the club. they probably do at least 2 leagues a week, and so we're going to see maybe some higher quality shots from them, but you never know. It's
and that's the thing about curling is that stones are pretty much always good as long as they're in play. And you never know what's going to happen. You may sit a stone out there and you say, well, that's not what we wanted it. But then come the end of the end, that stone's really important. So just to say maybe they don't do exactly what the skip wanted, or even when the skip sometimes do it, or the members, because God knows I hear it all the time. It doesn't always mean it's because the stone didn't go where they wanted that it's necessarily a bad shot by any means. Everything is playable as long as it's in the balance.
Certainly. That's part of the game. Is you got to play. It's not just your stones in play. Whatever stones your opponents put up change the state of the house. And whatever stones your own team puts up, that changes the strategy. So you just got to call the next shot based on what the current state of the ice is.
Take a look at sheet C. That is the one, if you look at the middle of your screen, just to the right, that is Nick Miles, who is skipping Trophy Brewery's team. He is calling the shot here for yellow. You're going to see the yellow stone just below being delivered. Now watch it pop up on the top of your screen here in just a moment.
Yeah, we're going to run this red. But I wanted to get on the inside.
Looks like it might run back to red.
Oh, looks like they're going for a double tap. Well, ended up splitting the house a bit. So move that red guard out of the way and actually split their yellow stones nicely. So they're currently sitting 3 yellow right now on the outside. But it makes it difficult to remove multiple yellow stones at once when they're spread out away from each other like that. Good play by yellow there.
So now Howard Steiner is going to respond. He is the skip of Ponysaurus Brewing. They are throwing red. The delivery is in. Got a lot of handle on it. Now watch for it to come up at the top of your screen.
Try and tip off that yellow and roll behind. If it rolls too far, it won't be shot, but it does stop. So now red is the shot rock. Good stone.
And those were both, that was delivery was by a non-member, I believe. So, I mean, you talk about how some of these are going to be, I spoke to some in our gathering room before they began. They had never played curling before. This was some of their first shots. They said, yeah, we practiced before, but that's really it. It really is remarkable how accessible this sport is. There's a level of complexity that will take you a lifetime to succeed at, but it still gives you the tools early, as we're seeing, to make some shots.
Oh, absolutely. And so far what I'm seeing is, folks doing a great job. A lot better than I did in my first game.
Same for me. Same for me. Triangle Curling Club located in Durham, North Carolina, right nestled into RTP. If you're interested, there are leagues just about every day of the week, an instructional league on Saturdays as well, as including pickup curling and other events that can really get you in at a level. If you're not familiar with the game, they will bring you up and teach you the right way. It's exactly what happened with me. As with most members here, a great bunch that really have taken many under their wing, non-curlers traditionally.
Oh yeah, the instructional league is great if you really want to get into league play. But there are pick-up and play opportunities, and even if you don't have any curling experience, I've gone to some of those pick-up sessions, and the curling community here is so warm and welcoming. People are always willing to take some time to work with you, to help you learn the basics, and get you on the ice and make sure you're having fun, even if you've never played curling before. It's really wonderful to see so many, warm, welcoming folks here at the Triangle Curling.
Let's take a peek in at sheet B. That is the one just left of center. Red stones being delivered by Ancillary Fermentation.
They need to make something happen because yellow is currently sitting 3 stones. So they need to get something in play. Ooh, a takeout shot just misses. A slight tap on yellow, but not enough to move it out of the way. Yellow's still sitting 3.
That was a very close one. It could have possibly nipped the yellow. You know, it could have went yellow onto yellow, both in the house there, and maybe gotten rid of two, at least gotten rid of one. So once again, it is a game of very, very fine margins. Take a peek over on sheet D. That is the one all the way on the far right-hand side of your screen. So you have Glass Jug Beer Lab, skipped by Laura Jean Stadnick. She is using the yellow stones, and it is red of Linwood Brewing with Eric LeBeau skipping. He's calling the shot in now, and red are going to need to break up that yellow, very similar to what we saw on sheet B.
Yeah, 3 yellow stones there. Out. Was that? No, that's 4 yellow stones. Oh, no, excuse me. There is a red. The skip was standing in front of it. So yellow is currently sitting 3. And then red is out counting that back yellow. Going for a little double tap. All right, it's not going to change which stones are shot. So yellow is still sitting 3, it looks like, with that 4th red outside. As a reminder to folks watching, scoring is determined at the end of the end. So once all 8 stones are thrown, the skips and the vices will look at the house and determine which color stones are closest to the center, closest to the button. And only the closest stones to the buttons, out counting any other opponent's color stones, are the ones that count at the end of the day. So it's not just a matter of how many stones are in the house, you have to be out counting your opponent's stones for those to score.
Beautifully described. Zach and Sakai here with you, a duo of Z's, bringing you this live coverage from Triangle Brewing in this inaugural Brewers Charity Spiel. So we're down to skip stones on a few of our sheets. If you look over at sheet A right now, skip stones for Mike Russell and Durham Distillery. They are throwing red, so he has got a bit on his hands here. You can see the shot being called in. I believe that is Lee who is holding the broom, playing vice.
Now, this is a very difficult situation. So there's a lot of guards up front on sheet A, and yellow does have at least 2 stones counting, but there is a port between those guards, and if he can curl that stone right through that port, they might be able to come up and sit on that that center yellow and be shot rock. So let's see where it comes.
It'll be coming out the top of your screen on the left-hand side.
Sweepers are going at it. It is through the port, but will it curl enough? Ooh, a little bit wide. It is not shot rock, but it does outcount those other 2 yellows. So they've cut down the scoring opportunity from 3 to 1 for yellow.
And in the end, sometimes that's what it's about, especially when you don't have the last rock, hammer. Sometimes it is just cutting down your opponent because the person with the hammer, of course, wants to score not just one, but multiple. So if you can narrow it down a little bit, you're at least doing your job.
Absolutely.
So now it'll be Chris DiPiero, who will be throwing for Full Steam Brewery. He's got a nice setup, and there is a broom held on very close by David, representing the brewery team. DiPiero leaves on the left-hand side of your screen. His stone will re-enter on the left-hand side at the top of your screen.
Well, let's see. He looks like he's also trying to hit this port and maybe try to, tapped off the guards. Again, as you were saying, like, you have to play the stones where they land. And even though that did tap off the guards and didn't get into the house the way they wanted, that yellow stone is protecting the currently shot yellow stone. So maybe it wasn't what they wanted, but they ended up with a nice guard. So hey, not too bad.
On sheet C, Nick Miles has just delivered for Trophy Brewing. It'll come out the top of your screen as it goes into the house.
They want that to rest inside the red, and it does.
Beautiful shot.
Good shot.
So that is yellow sitting 2, and they've basically just separated off that red stone. So not a bad spot to be in, as Ponysaurus Brewing skip Howard Sider will go back for the Ponysaurus team to throw his last stone of the first end.
It looks like these first ends are wrapping up on all sheets. Not too many stones left before they will score each end on each sheet.
Already on sheet A, they are now throwing the other direction, so we'll get you the scores as you'll be able to see them on the top of your screen, but we'll update you on those as well as the overall scores. Sider has just thrown his rock.
So it's possible for this stone to outcount all those yellows if it rests right there on the button. And it is going to tap that yellow out and be the new shot stone. Great shot for red.
So now yellow will get to respond on sheet C. We are looking at the one just right of center. So now it will be Nick Miles to deliver the final stone of end one. Yellow. Now, just looking at the opportunities here, if they knock out that red almost in the center of the house, they're sitting 2, job done. That's what you want to accomplish when you have the hammer.
Exactly. If you can get more than 1 point, when you have hammer, you have such an advantage with that last stone. So scoring is what you want to do, obviously. But if you can get more than 1, that's putting yourself in a good position for the next end after that. So in this situation on sheet C, you got yellow has to tap that red out and stay put.
So now you won't believe this, but an interesting story on sheet C. Trophy Brewing, Les is holding the broom. He's actually got experience on ice, and that is from being a figure skater. So I asked him, just ask him, is there any experience on ice? Hockey is usually what I'm expecting. Figure skating was not, so he is nimble on his feet. Let's see if Nick Miles can be nimble with the rock as he tries to get 2 for his side, and he splits the gap, does manage to get them both away, and they're going to be sitting 4, I believe.
That was a fantastic shot. I'm not sure how that happened, but they made it work.
Beautiful stop from Nick Miles.
Big play.
That was the equivalent of a triple Salchow as the figure skating team pulls off a big first in. They're going to have some insurance as they head in to end number 2.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, even if you don't plan it to go away, the stones can find their way to make you look better than maybe what you were expecting to look like. Not saying that Nick Miles didn't mean to do that. Because, as you know, you always claim it.
Right. Of course he meant to do that. It was the best possible shot.
So on sheet D, I believe they're also wrapping up. They might have 1 more stone to go. Looks like they just finished up, so they counted the rocks there as well. So everyone is done in end 1. We will get you the scores as we are provided them. But now they're heading back the other way at the end of end 2. So once they've thrown all the rocks back in this direction, that will be halfway through for our first session. We have 2 sessions today during this inaugural Brewers Charity Spiel. Now you're going to be looking on the bottom of your screen for where rocks are going to be scored, and it matches up to the sheet below. So A is still on the left. Below, if you look on the top side of the screen, the top left-hand corner, you can see a scoreboard back there with a small letter A. Just below that is the other end of the sheet for A. So it matches up, so you can continue to follow straight down each sheet, left to right.
Just one in here. I know. It might perk up. It's trying. Yeah, go ahead.
So we are starting to get some scores in. Scores on the board. Sheet B, yellow had a big end. That is Tobacco Wood Brewing put up 4. So actually, 4 is the common score across the 2 middle sheets. Yellow 4 as well, as Nick Miles put up a great shot for Trophy Brewing. On sheet D, red with a singular point, and we are still waiting on sheet A. But that is important because this is about winning ends. That gets you points. It's 5 for winning the game, 5 points. 1 point for each end you win of the 4, and then a quarter point for each point you score. So by scoring 4 points, let's do the math here, everybody, that gets you 1 point because it's a quarter point for each point you score. If that's confusing, we'll get you the final scores at the end of each one. Don't worry.
So something to think about at the beginning of these ends is a lot of these shots aren't going to necessarily be going into the house. Some will, some won't. A lot of times a skip will call for a number of guards to be placed at the beginning of the end to give them the opportunity to control some of the space within the house. So you've seen some of these shots that look like they're high, they're above the house. That's not necessarily a bad situation because those stones can help protect your stones later. The big thing about curling is those stones don't go in a straight line. They do curl, and if you get just the right bend in your shot, you can really put these stones in some interesting situations with some interesting movement.
And now a couple of things to talk about with guards. Some of them are protected. We are playing with the free guard zone, with a 5-stone rule, which helps this be not like bowling where you just throw one and then knock it out. You can explain that to the folks at home that maybe aren't as familiar, that are watching their favorite brewery right now, distillery. Those outside the house for a little while cannot be removed.
That is true. So the rule is for the first 5 stones, if they are thrown in front of the house, they cannot be removed from play by the opposing team. That rule, there's a funny story about how that rule came into effect. For many years, there was no free guard zone. You could throw stones, knock out whatever you wanted. And then one Canadian team, they realized if they just knock out every single stone that the opponents play, they'll never lose.
Yep.
And that was their strategy. They did it for a while. They won. They did tremendously well. But it made the game of curling too boring for spectators. So in order to add layers of strategy, to add that complexity, this is chess on ice after all, that rule was instated. So now you can throw stones that can't be removed, and it lets skips build up their strategy for each end.
Skip, the first 5 cannot be taken away. If they are taken away, they just get put back by the skip. So if you do hit one accidentally, if you're ever playing, it's okay. They'll just put it back.
Right.
It's all it means. And then also there's a little bit of correlation between where sometimes those guards go. The team that has the hammer a lot of the times like to put them in certain places, and the team that doesn't have the hammer likes to put them in other places. That can sometimes not necessarily be intuitive for people that aren't as familiar with the game.
Certainly. Some of the basic strategy, you could say, that I'm still learning, honestly.
Same.
In general, if you are the team with the hammer, you want to keep the center of the house more open so that you have more opportunities for your final stones to sneak in and get onto the button to at least get your 1 point. So they might start to guard the sides of the house in order to place stones over on the sides, build up some points potential over there. But if you don't have the hammer, you tend to want to control the center of the house. So you might see them place guards right on the center line, get stones right on the button, make things really difficult for the team with hammer to score.
We do have a score update from sheet A. It is a mirror here. A and D both have 1 point scored. B and C in the middle both have 4. Yellow has scored on all the sheets except sheet D. Chris DiPiero's team, skipping Full Steam Brewery alongside David, Billy, and John, managed to put 1 on the board. So that is a point for winning the end and a quarter point for scoring 1. On sheet B, yellow will get 1 point for scoring in the end, and then 1 point for scoring 4, quarter point each. So 2 for yellow on sheet B. That's just an example, and we'll get you more of those. So the delivery coming in from Tobacco Wood Brewing, Tom Stanley's team, that is Q and Taylor, who are on the rock. They were sweeping it in.
Looks like they overswept that one. It did sail right through, and that stone will be out of play.
That's my free burn.
Q, Matt, the 2 representatives of the brewery on that particular stone.
Yeah, so on sheets B, C, and D, not too much action in the house, only a single stone counting on each of those sheets. But interesting, over on sheet A, we see 2 yellow stones just behind the button. Now, what's interesting about that is if someone can place a stone right there. Oh, as soon as I say it, all the stones get knocked away.
That is how
I was going to say, you have a situation where there might have been some backing. So if you could place a stone right in the middle with stones to protect it from behind, it makes it difficult for that stone to be removed. Now the backing has been knocked away, so even though that stone, that yellow stone, is kind of very close to the button, it is exposed. It could easily be knocked out by one good shot, and you will never see it again.
And yellow as well moved their own stones. In that particular situation, because they were so close together, red could have knocked them both out. Now this isn't excellent because it could still set up a double possibly, so they're not in a much better situation, but it does give them something. And I believe they're already on skip stones. They are flying on sheet A. That is going to be Mike Russell of Durham Distillery, who's going to be delivering in his first of 2 rocks, the skipper from Team Durham Distillery.
I think so. I'm gonna one.
It looks like a takeout is being called over on A. Try and take out that shot yellow, and then ideally they will stick around and be shot themselves.
Let's see what Mike Russell can pull off. We've already seen some heroics from our skips and Nick Miles on sheet C. So Russell exits the screen at the top left-hand corner. Watch him to re-enter on the bottom left-hand.
Sweepers are going on. Oh, they've been called off. So the skip is watching the stone, calling the sweepers on and off to make fine adjustments to the stone as it moves. It is sailing and hits the back yellow.
So a little bit of clearance on A. Still another shot there for Mike Russell as he will approach the end of this and DiPiero will set something up. Take a look at some of our other ends as we start to get down towards the end. Sheet A is well ahead of everybody else, as that does typically happen. B and C, yellow, are sitting pretty, and they are both throwing in conjunction. Les on the right-hand side of your middle part of the screen, and green with the green and yellow beanie. Les delivering his yellow in as the vice for Team Trophy Brewing.
And it looks like they just want this stone to come up and rest on the opposite side of the house. You can see it's curling right at the end. As stones slow down, they tend to curl more. Hopefully it will stick around, but oh, just had a little bit too much and sailed through. They wanted to split that house, have one stone on one side, one stone on the other. Again, makes it difficult for the opposing team to remove both of them, but that stone did not want to stick around.
The ice can be a cruel mistress, as Chris DiPiero pretty much puts that yellow stone right back where it was left from, as Mike Russell was trying to remove it. So they'll have to go again. That will be the last red stone, and the last stone overall to try and salvage something in end number 2, as they are down by a single point.
And something to keep in mind for viewers at home, so you can see whoever scores in one end, the team that did not score gets hammer in the following end. So all these teams that scored, the opposing team is now going to have a bit of a stronger opportunity in this end number 2 to try and get themselves up on the scoreboard.
I believe that is Lee who is holding the broom in sheet A on the left-hand side of your screen.
Yep, looks like a takeout call. Got to get rid of that shot yellow. Potentially the one behind it as well, but they really need that red to stick. Otherwise, one of those, that lingering yellow might still be out counting the lingering red over on the right side of the button, or right side of the house.
Sweepers going hard on Russell's shot.
They're coming into screen now. Let's see if they can make it happen. There is contact. The yellows are moved out, and that red stone did rest on the yellow, making it the shot rock. So red is shot.
And that just shows you how close over there on the left-hand side. It's a little bit hard to see, but if that red stone would have nudged the yellow just slightly, you would have been sitting 2. So it will be just 1 for red and Durham Distillery, but that does mean they are tied going into the second half of session number 1 on sheet A. Both sides with the hammer, just scoring 1. You want to at least score, of course. That's always good. If you can't score 2, it's okay, but you at least want to tie up. So both sides, second half there, 2 very good skips, feeling okay about things.
Looks like a well-matched game over there.
Just a reminder, folks, this is the 2023 Brewers Charity Spiel, the Triangle Curling Club in Durham, North Carolina. Zach and Zakai here with you. Thank you for tuning in on this little bit chilly Saturday afternoon in central North Carolina. This incredibly volunteer-run club hosting for the first time this event where the winners will raise money for charity. Each brewery or distillery is teamed up with a charity. So money will go toward their chosen cause should they win. Sheet B, we have the red stones of ancillary fermentation. The skip Michael Descar will deliver in the red Ohio State hoodie. I believe that is Peter holding, or rather Kevin holding the broom. Right now they're sitting one, so they're just trying to add a little bit of insurance.
And you mentioned holding the broom. Now that's a really important part of curling, because when you're delivering a stone, you're not trying to throw your stone so it lands where the broom was. That's just your target for when you deliver the stone. Then as it curls coming down the ice, they're really sweeping to try and get that in the house. You can see how far over that stone moved, how much curl it had as it went down the ice. It moved about a quarter of the sheet over. But now they're nice, they're 2 stones in the house. So they're sitting 2, those stones are spread out from each other. So it's hard to get rid of both of them at the same time. So they're in a good spot to try and pick up some points. But there is at least one more yellow stone.
Yep.
On sheet B. Is this the?
If this is the last yellow for Tom Stanley.
This will be the last yellow. Okay.
Tobacco Wood Brewing. And they swept it really well. Just managed to get that red biting on the edge of the 12. So let's see what Tom Stanley can do. He's got Q sweeping for him.
Coming in, got plenty of weight on it. Takes out that red, but will it stick around? It's biting. It is biting the 12-foot. It's hard to say from this perspective which one, the yellow or red, is currently shot rock.
And that's what Descar is doing right now. He's taking a look and saying which is the closest.
Right, because here's the situation. So there's one more red stone. The house is wide open, so drawing in for one is a relatively easy shot for an experienced skip. So taking a point in this end isn't too difficult, but if that yellow rock is out counting the red, he has to make a calculation. Does he go for a riskier takeout on the yellow while still having that his stone stick around, or does he take the easier shot, take his point, and keep going?
And just so you know, folks, we are on just left of center, sheet B. You're looking at the bottom side. So if you look at the center of your screen and go over one sheet, that is sheet B. That's where we're looking right now.
But
go ahead.
The yellow did score a big 4 points in the first end, so maybe he wants to pick up 2 points, puts them a little bit closer. We'll see what they go for.
And just like you were talking earlier, you can use no measurement tools during the end. You cannot measure it out with your feet. Use a stick, find a ruler. You have to do it by judge of the eye. So did Descar make the right decision? Here comes the stone in. What's going to happen? They are down by 4 after the first in. They're trying to cut it in half. The yellow might just be biting ahead of their red on the edge of the 12. Is it going to curl enough? It is not. Straight through the house.
And it's heavy, so it's not going to stick around. So which one is it? Which one scored?
It will be interesting to see if they can call this by eye or if they have to get out the measuring equipment.
Because if the yellow was shot, then that means that yellow will end up stealing a point in end number 2.
Which is the dream when you don't have the hammer.
Absolutely. They're still debating. It is the job of the vice skips on each team to make the final judgment call on what the score is for the stones.
There's a conference going on.
They must come into an agreement before those stones can be moved off the ice.
There are no referees. It is judged by themselves.
Oh, the stones have been moved, but
I believe they gave it to red, but we'll confirm that when the score goes up, because they might not have, but we will see. That was the closest one we've seen so far. So now everybody pretty much besides sheet D are on to N3.
Looks like 2 more stones on sheet D. This is the last stone from red coming in now. It is going to get in the house, so they are sitting 3 for red. Potentially a big score coming up, but yellow has their final shot. All they have to do is get inside that. If they're biting or touching that 4 foot at all or anywhere closer, they will be shot. They will take their 1 point.
So that is Team Stadnik representing Glass Jug Beer Lab, throwing yellow. They're already down by a singular point after end 1, so they're trying to keep their hopes alive here. Get 1 with the hammer, tie things up. If they miss the shot, though, things could really go against them. Other team will score 3, as it was so beautifully summed up by Sakai. Here comes the stone in from Laura Jean Stadnik.
All right, so pretty wide open house. Should be a fairly simple draw, but you still got to outcount all those reds.
We're on the far right-hand side of your screen, folks. Look down in the bottom right-hand corner. Sheet D is where we're looking.
Cards coming in. The sweepers are ready. That stone is coming to a rest. Ooh, it is a bit heavy, and it's going to keep going. Ends up in the back of the house. Something you saw just there. When you're normally not allowed to sweep an opponent's stone, but as soon as it crosses the tee line, a single member from the opposing team is allowed to sweep the opponent's stone. So when that last stone was coming in a little bit heavy and it crossed the tee line, the opposing team tried to sweep it to give it that extra momentum to keep it from out counting any of the reds, and it looks like they were successful in stealing some points.
So they were sitting 3 red. They cut it down to 2 yellow. So now it's 3 for red on sheet D. It is 5 for yellow on sheet C. B, we told you we weren't sure what the final result was. It was a single.
It was a steal.
For yellow. So they are now sitting 5 after 2 ends. And then on sheet A, it is tied at 1-1. So we've got a varying amounts. And the thing about this is this isn't just a one-off game. It matters for the score in the second end, because if a team wins 9-0, you say, oh, well, that wasn't a very interesting game. That could be huge, because those points could get them the win depending on the result in Team 2. So don't think because a game is being run away with that necessarily means it's not interesting.
Right, right.
And that's the other part about it, is you don't lose points for losing by a lot. So if you lost your first game by 9, it doesn't matter. There's no aggregate score. You're not adding anything up. It just comes down to what you scored. So if you do lose by a lot in the first one, it's okay. You can win a lot by the second one and still end up in a good spot.
That's true. There's a whole nother game coming up, so there's plenty of chances for comebacks.
Getting down into the later stages on sheet A, Billy has just delivered on Full Steam Brewery's team.
Looks like they're trying to rest right there on that back yellow. They don't want to push it too far out of the way. They just want to rest on it. Nice, nicely done. But there is still room to cover that button. Red can still come up and rest. It's called a freeze if you come up right up to a stone and don't move it, but you sit right on top of it. And if you can freeze on the button with stones behind, it makes it very difficult to get that stone off the button.
There's the call by Mike Russell. You can see as the green broom end, holding it on the far left-hand upper side of your screen. Mike Russell and Team Durham Distillery. Stone delivered in.
It really needs to curl inside. It looks like it's hanging out on the outside of that sheet. It still might make some contact. All right, got rid of one of the yellows. Still two yellow stone shot over on A.
And they still have rocks to throw, so that is by no means a bad situation to be in.
But in a situation like this where there are no guards up front, every stone in the house is open for a hit. So we're going to see quite a few hits over on A before this end is over.
And as a person who plays lead a lot, I understand this all too well. Especially when you first start playing on a sheet that hasn't been played on a lot, sometimes it goes very slow. So you're not seeing a lot of guards out there. That's because we've seen a couple of hogged rocks, which you can explain to us, Sakai, but you can also kind of segue in that to the fact that the ice changes over time. So you're not seeing a lot of guards right now. Could be because of some hogged rocks, which you can explain to us, but that also will change as the game goes on. So a hogged rock, why maybe aren't there some guards we've seen early?
Sure, so there's a line on the ice called the hog line. You can see at the kind of the bottom of each half of the screen there. So for a stone to be in play, it has to be delivered from the hack on one end over the hog line, but not past the house on the opposing side. And yes, fresh ice that is freshly pebbled, freshly nipped, tends to run very slow. So those early shots, you might have to give a little bit more effort to get them where you want them to go. Oh, we have a little bit of slip on B, but we're back on our feet. But yes, the ice does change over the course of the game. There's a little bit of melt as you run the stone down these lines. Certain parts of the ice might start to run faster based on how many stones are thrown down that particular line. All of this has to be taken into account by the skips as they make their calls and judge how much curl is going to be on each stone.
As always, my excuse as a lead, oh, well, I hogged rock. Well, the ice is slow. And then, you know, about the fourth in, when I'm throwing them through the back of the house, well, the ice is really sped up, you know. So but the ice does have a huge impact, and the bodies in the room will heat up the air, which means it'll be faster. So, I mean, it's just a never-ending changing cycle of how the ice evolves. And the really good skips can read that and adjust and know that, well, this person's been throwing a little wide, and now the ice is speeding up, so I'm going to put them here. I mean, it is not just about throwing down maybe on a bowling rink or a bowling lane where it's more controlled. You kind of know what to expect. This is an ever-changing. I mean, it is frozen water. It just it changes, it melts, it forms, it is scraped. It is a living object, really, that totally dictates the way that you play. You can have a great end, but the ice sometimes just doesn't favor you.
Sure, the ice is always going to be a little bit different. Each game, even at the same curling site, you know, we have a great staff of ice preppers here, but the ice is always a little bit different. So you always have to make some fine adjustments, and there's a lot of communication that happens between the skip and the other players. The skip needs to know, did that stone feel slow? Did it feel fast? You know, the better communication you have between your team, the faster the skip can adapt to the ice and then call some cleaner shots for you.
So Lauren has just delivered on sheet D for yellow. Glass Jug Beer Lab taking out with a simple shot for Team Yellow as they try and cut down their 3-0 deficit over on sheet D.
They are shot 2 stones right now, so looking in a pretty good position to pick up some points, get back in this game. But it looks like they're going to, Red is going to try and take out one of these yellows, cut them down, limit how much they can score. Meanwhile, some furious sweeping over on C. They're really trying to get this stone as deep as they can. Well swept, well swept.
Mirror scores once again on B and C. Yellow up by 5. 4 in the first, 1 in the second end. Sheets A on the left-hand side of your screen, B middle center, C right center, and D on the right-hand side of your screen.
We have a draw shot coming in on sheet B. They want this to just sort of stick around in the house. Ideally, it curls behind this existing yellow, but a little bit too heavy. That's going to sail through.
It's narrow as well, as it might bump up their yellow. It will. It'll remove that yellow guard, send it all the way through the house.
Let's try the other handle.
Same thing, we're just gonna try to bring it up here.
We're down to skip stones once again on sheet A as they are our fastest moving sheet. Mike Russell has the red stones of Durham Distillery as they are tied at 1. This is the final stone for Durham Distillery in this end. Trying to steal one here as there is a conglomerate of yellows inside the house.
Yeah, it looks like yellow is sitting at least 2, so they want to sit inside, be somewhere in that 4-foot range to outcount those yellows. It is coming in. The sweepers have been called on. And a very nice shot, tapping out one yellow and then resting against the other.
And not only did he manage to remove one of the yellows, he also managed to roll in a little bit behind cover of that yellow stone ahead. So that's going to be a little bit harder for DiPiero to hit of Team Full Steam Brewery. But also, because it's backed up, like you said, frozen against that yellow rock, that's going to be hard to dislodge with this final stone of N3.
And you can see that yellow guard in front. If he could come at it from the left side and curl at it, he might be able to knock that stone away from the frozen rock behind it. But because of that guard, it makes it difficult to come up that lane. If he wants to hit that, he'll have to come down the center. But now it'll jam up against the yellow. So it's another question. Do you just take the safer shot, take your one, or do you go for a riskier play and try to remove it?
So here it is by DiPiero. We're on the far left-hand side of your screen. The stone's about to enter your field of view. They are looking to get some points here with the hammer.
Coming in nicely and gonna rest right on the red. Another freeze, and they will take the point.
So they are dueling it out on sheet A with the hammer. Scores one. The opposition scores one again. Now they respond with one. So it is 1 for 1, the two sides trading off shots here as they get done with end 3. So that's going to affect them because, you know, even if you win, scoring low could actually put you in a bad position, even if you win, because like if you look at sheets B and C, scoring a lot gets you points. So this is not only about winning, even though that's your primary focus, that gets you the most points. This is also about winning by multiple scores. So if the one thing that can be said on sheet A is that both sides have got to be a little disappointed they aren't scoring more, but in the end, they want to win.
Right, so they're just struggling to get that win because you get a big chunk of points for getting that win. So they're really going at it, hoping to get that. In sheets B and C, they're more or less just trying to see by how much they can get. But again, there's a point spiel, so if red on each of those sheets could just get on the scoreboard, they're still going to get themselves some points. They might still be able to make something happen in game 2. But there's still a few more ends. You know, we've seen 4-point enders today, a couple of them. It could easily happen again.
Yeah, the game is never over in a point spiel, because even if you are going to lose, you think you're going to lose, you're down by a lot. Putting up points on the board, winning ends gets you a point, and each point you score gets you a quarter of a point. We'll explain that more, break down the scores when we get the final ones to kind of clarify that a bit more. But just know, it is never over, no matter how much you're down. So if you're watching your distillery or brewery and you're saying, man, they're down by 4 or 5, don't worry. They can still get points that could help them win, especially when we get to game 2. It is never over in a point spiel.
That's right.
So Glass Jug Beer Lab is delivering in on sheet D on the right-hand side of your screen. This is the final Vice Stone, the third player to throw.
Looks like they're trying to curl in behind the guards. They're going to end up tapping off their own yellow, but able to remain shot. So that's 3 shot stones for yellow over on D. Could be a big end for them.
They are down by 3 currently, so they could really use that, not only to put themselves back in contention for winning, but also to bank some points for winning ends and scoring points. We are down to the final stone on sheet B. It will be Michael Descartes to deliver it for ancillary fermentation.
And as you can see, the house is not in their favor right now. A couple of red guards way up front and 2 yellows in the house. So he has to put that red stone in the house, out counting those yellows to make sure that they don't get 2. So even though only 1 point will be scored, this is really a 3-point shot because he's taking points away from yellow and getting himself 1, or his team 1.
They are down 5-0, so they want to start scoring, get some points on the board. Just looking for a draw. It's got to be full 8. It's got to be inside fully that white circle in order to get them a point they desperately need.
All right, so they're watching it closely. Sweepers are called on. They want to make sure it's in there. And it is going to come to a rest right there on the 4-foot. That'll be a point for red.
So they are on the board, ancillary fermentation. They are partnered up with the Wake SPCA, their charity of choice. Should they win, they'll be donating to them. So a good end for them as they are now on the board, just down by 4. They get a point for winning the end, though. Let's take a look over at sheet C, where they are also down to their final rock. They are also going to be delivering for red. This time it is Howard Cider and Ponysaurus Brewing. A bit of a different situation here on sheet C, a real opportunity to score.
Absolutely. Yellow is shot, but there is a port between the yellow and red rocks up front. If you can sail through and hit that yellow right on the nose and stick around, you could potentially pick up 3 points for red right here, and that puts them very close to yellow.
Howard Sider stumbled a little bit as he came out. How is that going to affect his shot? Trying to close a gap here as they're down by 5. Sider.
Through the port, off the yellow. Will it stick around? Oh, and it does. 3 points for red on sheet C.
We've seen some really good skip play on sheet C. It was Nick Miles in the first hit with that spectacular shot to set up 4. And now it is Sider getting 3 for his side, a point for the end, and also 3 points in the bank later on to be scored when we get to culminating the final score. So that is a huge in for them because that puts them in contention just 2 points away as they head into the final end.
They're still at a disadvantage because they won't have hammer, but if they can steal a couple of points, they could really bring this back.
Anything can happen here, folks. So it is 3-2 as they head into the end of the 4th end. This will only be a 4-end game on all sheets today as session 1 is coming to its dusk. Take over our first hour here. Zach and Zakai with you as a Triangle Curling Club for this inaugural 2023 Brewers Charity Spiel. Everybody now in the 4th end.
All except for sheet D. They have a couple, looks like 2 more stones, 1 each left to throw on D.
This one is big for them as well because right now red is up by 3. There are stones in the house for yellow to possibly put up 5. I mean, there are stones galore.
My. Absolutely. And the red only has 1 stone left. They got to get rid of as much as they can.
Eric LeBeau of Linwood Brewing delivers the stone, his final of end number 3.
All right, it's coming in. We'll see if he's going to try to remove some yellow or just wants to try to outcount them. Sweepers are bringing his stone in. It does remove 1 yellow. It rolls a little bit to the left. It looks like it is out counting at least 2 of those yellows, but yellow is still shot.
So now a little bit more difficult for them because with the final shot of the 3rd end, curling in to hit that red, it is backed up against the yellow, so it's going to be hard to dislodge it entirely. You might be able to just nick it, but if you do push it, you can at least score 2. So they could be possibly looking at 2 is what they hope would be the worst case scenario for them.
Sure. They also have the option to draw in on the other side, just draw to the button and then take your 2 points. Now you're only down, you're down 1. Or do you, again, risk reward? Do you try to remove that red? But if things go awry and that red doesn't move, it might end up being the shot rock. So we'll see what kind of call they make.
We are on the far right-hand side of your screen. Sheet D, or Team Red, that is Linwood Brewing, is up 3-0 after the first 2 ends. It's Glass Jug Beer Lab, skipped by Laura Jean Stadnick, trying to get a big end here to get themselves back in it as they find themselves looking at a 4th end that they could possibly clinch.
All right, the stone has been delivered. It looks like they are coming down the right side of the sheet. Sweepers are staying close by. They're waiting for that call.
I need water.
If that stone needs any additional help, as a reminder, sweeping in front of the stone helps carry the stone a little bit further. Ooh. Stone goes a little bit long, so yellow is definitely shot. They have at least 1, but did that last stone outcount the red? The skips will have to take a closer look. It looks like they have determined that the yellow was closer. So that's 2 points for yellow. Over on D brings them only down by 1 going into the 4th end.
And it looks like they put a 1 on the board.
Oh, my mistake.
They might have just decided, unfortunately for them,
oh, no.
that it was just a 1. You're pulling for Team Yellow over here in Glass Jug Beer Lab.
We only have so many camera angles, you know.
Very true. So still, a point puts them within contention, 2 down. They don't have the hammer, but it's certainly possible. So now everyone is on their last end of session 1.
Yes, they are.
Crunch time all around.
Comeback time. Now, if you're going to have a comeback, now's the time.
So different storylines all across our sheets. On the far left-hand side, it is a low-scoring thriller between 2 very good skips who have made their shots. Just a 1-point game as Russell and DiPiero face off respectively of Durham Distillery and Full Steam Brewery. We're now into the Vice's Stones. So into the final 4 total. As Andrew, I believe, will be delivering for Durham Distillery. They are the furthest along. This is the closest of our games, just a single point separating the 2 sides.
So a takeout is being called. Trying to remove that shot yellow. We'll see if they can make it. Stone is not curling enough. And it is going to say, oh, no, oh. A bit unfortunate, taking out their own red. I've certainly been in that situation before.
Sometimes that happens, so they are now just 1 yellow in the house, but there are still rocks to play, as I believe it is now DiPiero's shot. So we're down to skip rocks on sheet A, and Full Steam Brewery holding on to that slender 1-0 margin. And if he can set up a nice stone in here, maybe slide in another one for 2. Now, they don't have the hammer, so it favors red in picking up some points. So that was a huge shot for them, clearing the board and giving yellow an opportunity to perhaps either cut down on what red can score or possibly nick one themselves.
Right, if they can get the steal on this last end, that will clinch them the game. We'll see where he wants to put this stone. Now he has options. He can try to guard to protect the shot yellow, or maybe he wants to put one in the other side of the house to split the house. This is looking like a guard. He's just trying to protect the stone that they've got. They got to get it over the hog, and they did. And it is coming to rest just inside the house, sitting in front of that yellow, giving it some nice protection. Good shot.
So it'll be 2 shots for Mike Russell to see if he can change their fate. They've got hammer. They've got the last rock. Now they just got to try and do something with it as they're down by a single point. Checking in on some of our other sheets. B, yellow is up by a comfortable margin, and they've got some nice positioning inside the house as they're getting down to the latter stages. I believe they're also on Vice rocks. Yellow not looking too bad as they're going to be one of our points leaders. As it stands, it looks like they're going to be one of our leaders heading into session 2.
That is what it looks like. They're already ahead, and they are sitting 2 right now. If they can pick up another set of points, because they did regain hammer for the 4th end, so they're in a good position to pick up a couple more.
Pony Saurus is throwing on sheet C.
3 yellow in the house, but still some red stones to be thrown. One coming in right now.
They're down by just 2 as the stone enters your screen. Middle right.
And, ooh, just outside, does not make contact with that yellow. And there are still those 3 yellow stones counting in the house.
So a very near miss. Should have fit maybe a few note cards in between those stones. Come down to the finest of margins. So that'll be less in the green at the top of your screen, just right of center. Les, the figure skater. We talked to you at the beginning of this first end. Les has some figure skating experience. He's trying to deliver a rock here that might be able to get them some big points and put them in ahead over Tobacco Wood Brewing. That is Trophy Brewing with the yellow stones, trying to rack up the score and get one in.
Yep, they're just trying to put as many stones as they can in the house. So they want this to come to a rest and stay counting. It's looking pretty good. And there you go, up to 4 stones in the house for yellow.
So now we are down to the final stone, I believe, for Chris DiPiero, as he and Full Steam Brewery are up by just a solitary point in a favorable house as well, trying to make it now 3 in the house. This could be huge as far as the chances for Durham Distillery to get anything out of this in.
If this stone ends up being a nice cover against the button, it could be a very difficult shot for the hammer to try and get anything. But the stone is a little bit light. It is a little bit light. It has to get it over the hog line to count. The sweepers are going at it furiously. They did manage to get it in play. You can't see it on screen, but it did barely get over the hog. It is just on the center line. So that will make it a bit difficult, but there's still plenty of room to draw around that guard and get onto the button. But they have to get this shot. They have to outcount that yellow. Otherwise, it's going to be a steal. The best they can do right now is get that point and get that tie.
Mike Descartes on sheet B with Team Ancillary Fermentation with a very good hit and roll. Rolled right to the middle of the house, but now it's an open shot for Tom Stanley and Tobacco Wood Brewing. They're winding down there. So let's see, this is the final shot. We're back on sheet A on the left-hand side of your screen. This is the last shot of this game. Can they get a point here, which would tie it up? We've already seen some great stuff from Mike Russell this game. Here is the final delivery for Durham Distillery.
All right, they've called the sweepers on. They're going at it. They're trying to get that stone around the guard. The full team is sweeping this stone. They're trying to inch it in.
Anywhere in the house, Nick.
It is going to come to a rest. Did it outcount that yellow? Hard to say. The Vices are going to have to take a look and make that determination.
From my eye, it looks like the red might just be slightly, and it looks like it's almost full force, almost fully within that red circle inside the house. If that's the case, it would be a single and a tie at 2. We're over on sheet A on the far left-hand side of your screen, the bottom side of that split.
They're still talking about it. They're shaking hands. They're giving good curlings all around. Always nice to see some good sportsmanship. I'm still not sure what the score is, though.
I think they may have called it for the red, but we will get confirmation on that as our focus turns to sheet B now, as Descartes and Ancillary Fermentation are delivering their last stones of this first session.
All right, trying to knock out some of these yellows, knock down some of their points. A nice little ricochet there, removing the shot yellow and being shot themselves. Fantastic shot there. Looks like we're down to our last stone of the game on sheet B.
Tom Stanley, Tobacco Wood Brewing, who are partnered with Simplify and America's Fund, their charity of choice on this inaugural Brewers Charity Spiel.
So red is sitting shot rock, but that is a very exposed stone. If yellow can tap this guy out and stick around, they could potentially pick up another 3 points this end.
That would take them to 8, which would be a very nice first game points total for them. 5 for winning, an additional 2 for the amount of points they scored. Can they pull it off? Tom Stanley's is in. It is narrow on his own yellow.
It is over curling. Oh my goodness, knocks one of their own yellows out. It does not take the shot position, and red will steal a point right at the end.
So that will not change the overall score of the game as far as the winner goes. Yellow will still win, yellow of Tobacco Wood Brewing, but that does mean that they don't pick up the other possible points, and that's another point in the bag for Michael Descartes and Ancillary Fermentation because they won the end.
Exactly, that's what we're saying. Is that stone that was a 4-point shot instead of 3 points for yellow, 1 to red. There's a 4-point shot right there.
and it was a tie on sheet A, so they are throwing a stone to decide who's going to win. So this is how you break ties in curling. Closest to the button wins.
Yep, this is skips stones. So each skip gets to deliver one stone as close as they can to the button. The sweepers are allowed to help it. So they are bringing out the measurement device because the stone has to be removed before the other skip delivers a stone. So this is a laser measuring device. It sits right there in the button, and they take a distance measurement to the stone.
And this is all happening on the left-hand side of your screen, the far left-hand side, top left. Now, the curling club members cannot take these shots. We heard in the rules discussion before, this has to be by the brewery or distillery representatives. So these are going to be what you would assume to be the less experienced. So this is going to be more of a pure showing of these breweries and distilleries of who they have sent out to take these shots for them. And what has already been a dramatic game on sheet A could not have ended more dramatically. Our first and what appears to be only tie of this first session is going to come down to what we assume will be millimeters.
All right, they have the measurement, and now the red team is going to set up for their stone. It looks like they have, if they can get anywhere biting the forefoot, that would certainly outcount, and they would take the win.
So this is DiPiero and Full Steam Brewery.
All right, here it comes.
So watch it into your screen on the top left-hand side. DiPiero exits the house to go and help it be swept.
They are sweeping it in. They're trying to get as much momentum maintained on that stone. Oh, but it's still going. It's still going. And they may have overswept it by a little bit. Looks like that's a bit further out, but they're going to take the measurement to know for sure.
So if that is the case, it will be Durham Distillery and Mike Russell who will take the win on sheet A in the first session. That would get them 5 points for the win, as they would take it 3-2.
Yes, we measure the distance to the second. Okay, cool. Our laser measures. Yeah. Are we sweeping this? All right, who's up first?
It's pretty good. Whoa. Yeah, can't go past T, right?
All right, so what we have going on now that all of the games, almost all the games have wrapped up. We're doing a series of it's a draw shot challenge is what we're doing right now on sheets A, B, and C, where we're just having individual stones being thrown by the members from these breweries and distilleries to get as close as they can to the button, and that is going to potentially pick them up some extra points. That is why each stone is being measured and then being removed for the next stone to be delivered. Because with this particular draw shot challenge, it's not about stones interacting with each other. It's just about how well can you deliver that one stone right to the button. Meanwhile, it looks like the game on sheet D is wrapping up. There are just a few stones left to be played.
That is Eric LeBeau.
He's throwing his number 7 stone.
Want to take that out? Eric.
Yellow is sitting 3 in the house. They are trying to cut that down.
They are down yellow by 3-1. So the current score would put them over the top and win the game for them.
That red stone does not curl in and doesn't make contact with any of the existing yellow. That is unfortunate for them. They really wanted to move some of that yellow out of play.
And you can't hear it because we don't have microphones inside our lobby area here, but there was a massive groan out of the folks that have gathered inside as they saw that stone just barely miss. That is big time for Glass Jug Beer Lab and Skip Stadnick, because the 3 would give them the win. That's 5 points, a massive total, if they can just hold off the tide of LaBelle and Linwood Brewing. But we are not done. Final stone for Glass Jug Beer Lab. Far right-hand side of your screen.
It looks like a guard has been called. They really want to protect their center shot yellow. The stone should be entering your screen now. The sweepers are staying very close. Stone is coming up, and it's going to bite the 12-foot, but it still leaves that center yellow a bit exposed. It is possible to curl in and win this end for red, but this is their final stone. It all comes down to this.
And now, because there are no other red stones in the house, Red, Linwood Brewing are just purely thinking about the win here. Lock it up, secure the win, that gets you 5 points, and then winning the end will also get you a point. So this isn't about anything other than get the point on this end. That is 6.25 points that are on offer on this single shot for Eric LaBelle in the Linwood Brewing.
Absolutely.
I didn't think it was going to carry that much. I wanted to make sure we got you in with a good counting score. Right now you're first on this one. Oh, yeah? I've got something to say about that.
All right, making some fine adjustments to the broom placement over on D.
Good job, guys. What are you guys?
Last shot of session 1. Eric LaBelle, Linwood Brewing.
All right, here it comes.
I like your beer.
It is off camera, but the sweepers are staying close. Sweepers have been called on. They are sweeping. They're trying to give that stone some extra oomph to get all the way into the house. It is starting to curl in. And we see contact with the yellow. But did it move that yellow stone enough to be out counting? It looks like the yellow is still shot.
But that would not be enough for Glass Jug Beer Lab to leapfrog over Linwood Brewing. They needed 2 here to tie, 3 to win. So while the shot maybe didn't get as much as they could have gotten for Linwood Brewing, it still was enough to secure them the win, which is a huge 5 points. Job done.
Absolutely. It outcounted 3 of the 4 yellows. And so there was only a steal of 1 instead of a steal of 4. And that will secure the victory for the Red Stones.
So that does it for session 1. We can go ahead and just do a little bit of an unofficial count as far as what the points totals will be. We will get you a final count of this for sure, because that will affect seeding on who plays who in session number 2. But on sheet A, both sides with 2.5 points. 1 point for winning an end, so they won 2 ends each, and then a quarter point for each point you scored, so a half point. So 2.5 for Durham Distillery and Full Steam Brewery on sheet A. Sheet B, same story, 2.5 for Ancillary Fermentation, who through Red Tobacco Wood Brewing gets 5 points for the win, 2 points for winning each end, so they're at 7, and then 5 points total will take them to 1.5. So 8.5 points, I believe, for Tobacco Wood Brewing on sheet B. So they are going to be one of our leaders overall. Let's take a look at sheet C. Trophy Brewing in yellow scored a whopping 10 points, which will take them to 2.5. Plus the 5 for winning the game, which gives them now 7.5 and 3, so that is 10.5 points. And it's unofficial, remember.
They will definitely be our point leader going into game number 2.
And for Ponysaurus Brewing, they scored 3 in a single end, so that'll get them 1 for the end, and then 3/4 of a point, so that is 1 3/4 for Ponysaurus Brewing. And then we do have the final numbers, I believe, on sheet D. Yes, we do. Red Linwood Brewing will get 5 points for the win. 2 points for each end that they won takes them to 7. 3 points total. That is 7 3/4 points for Linwood Brewing. And Glass Jug Beer Lab, the yellow on sheet D with 2.5 points for them. So right now, as it stands, unofficial count, Trophy Brewing is in the lead. They will be the 1 seed going into session 2, followed closely by Tobacco Wood Brewing and Linwood Brewing. And then making up the bottom side of the sheet will be Glass Jug Beer Lab, Ponysaurus Brewing, Ancillary Fermentation, followed by Durham Distillery and Full Steam Brewery. So we will get you all the updated totals, what the seedings are. When we get to session 2, this is just halfway done here of this inaugural Brewers Charity Spiel at the Tobacco Curling Club in Durham, North Carolina. Zach and Zakai here. We hope you've enjoyed the first half. Stick around. We're going to take a short lunch break. We're going to get rejuvenated, drink some water, and we'll be back for the second half. Hope you had fun. We did. Zach and Sakai, first in.
I'm saying, that was 950. Are you keeping track or are we? I'm keeping track. You keeping track. Huh? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just had me double man. 950. Good. I'm just out of shape. What is the purpose of this now? Tiebreaker.